What's going on, boys? Thanks to our patrons and Fiverr customers, subscribe to our Patreon free for behind the scenes stuff, arm yourselves, life stuff. And probably actually some typology stuff too, but where some typology videos lean toward the life category, this is more of a life video that leans toward the typology category, in parts. Because we're going to talk more about dating in this video, but we'll also be talking about dealing with people socially in general. Or maybe not. I don't have a solid plan for this video. I felt like I was dying yesterday. I was just tired the entire day. And then these bruises appeared on my arms in this symmetrical pattern. And I'm a bit sad today. I'm sad because I was proven right. I think as you're developing an uglier outlook on the world and uglier strategies to deal with the world, there's always this hope, these bullshit platitudes and slogans about love conquering all and trust and all these things. There's this hope they're right and you're wrong. That somehow, over all this time, you have missed something and there is a happier world waiting for you to find it. You're always hoping that. But experience will always show you, not tell you, not assure you, not try to persuade you, show you the ugly world you are seeing clearer and clearer is the right one. We mentioned in the last dating video this block I feel regarding dating now. But you could say that about all my social connections. I don't like getting close with anyone. And I don't like getting close with anyone because it seems like every time you begin to get close with someone or there's an opportunity to get close with someone, you know in the back of your mind, this person, if you get close to them, will turn on you one day and try to hurt you. But because you're still hoping, you'll still try to engage with these people and you'll confide in them, you'll give them some damaging things about yourself, but not all of them. Not the really, really bad ones. The ones you would the ones you would actually need or want help with, someone to help you bear this burden in return for helping bear their burdens. But you know anything you give anyone will be turned on you eventually. Hence why you give them only the moderately damaging things. And then inevitably, at some point, this person or these people you've confided in will turn on you. And there's another aspect of this hope in there. You don't, or maybe you do turn on them first for any number of reasons, probably because you're a piece of shit, but you don't unload on them the way people will unload on you, and then they will unload on you. Hope makes you leave it open to see what people will do, to see what point will be proven, and it's always the negative point. So why are the positivity messages always the ones being pushed? The damaging lessons or the anti-lessons? Why are the true lessons never taught? Why must they always be learned by you and taught by reality? Why don't your fellow humans ever teach you anything useful? And that's been happening again recently professionally, but this time around, I gave up almost nothing really damaging. Not even moderately damaging. So it hurts and I am hurt, but not as bad as I would have been on that emotional level otherwise. But this time around has opened up a new door, and that door is the dread of knowing you're going to need to figure something else out. The game you've been playing is, in fact, as bad as you thought it was, so now there's no room for hoping you missed something. You need to commit to the shitty, ugly side of things. These are the facts. What strategies will you develop to deal with them? And this all ties into dating because this reflects strongly on that block I've been feeling. You're supposed to be nourished emotionally by close connections, but these close connections either don't exist or they have a shelf life. In any case, they are a trap, they're dangerous, they are inevitable. And we've talked about this lightly before, but it's all coming together now. I think part of what I've been doing is trying to change my emotional connection nourishment system. Because once you're aware of it, it's hard to feel nourished by something you know to be poison, slow acting poison, or gunpowder that will be blown up later. So I think I've been trying to adjust it so my nourishment comes both from attention or people's awareness of me and the feelings I inspire in other people. And not any one particular emotion, but some emotion and natural, not forced. Because that's another thing. With a few people, I've been taking special measures to be nice, to be kind, to be supportive, to be accommodating. And it feels forced, it feels wrong, and they're already beginning to take advantage of it. And I think that's because it's not natural. It's not righteous. In fact, righteousness is the reason I can feel it's not going the way I hoped it would. People aren't getting along, people aren't happy, people aren't nice. And what I'm doing is painting a big target on my forehead and asking people to shoot it. And I hate that because I know the strategies I'm using right now are not the strategies I should be using to make everything run the way it needs to run, but I'm also aware I'm not at a level I need to be to make everything run the way it's supposed to run. And that's painful, and knowing you can't trust other people to borrow a phrase, do what you think humans do and help or pick up the slack on that front. You can't trust them to do that, and that also hurts. But that entire setup leads us into the only proper solid point of this video. We'll go through what I meant by gardening in the last video because a couple people asked about it. Gardening being my strategy in the hunter-hunted analogy thing, which works pretty well. First, with dating and with anything, you don't do what someone else does. And not because of a copyright thing, but because it's phony. And if you want to succeed in dating or with people in general, you can't be phony. You need to be righteous, even if phoniness is your righteousness. Some people's pure natural selves, what works best for them, what works best with other people, and ultimately what works best for everybody, is, in fact, feeding people golden lines of bullshit. That is some people's reality, and when they do it, it works and it's good for everybody. If that is their thing, the thing that they were born to do, the strategy they were born to grow into. So while I'll describe gardening here, keep in mind if you want to succeed with people, you need to key into what you are and then build that up. Trying to adapt someone else's strategies, even if it works, sometimes it's not going to work past the opening gambit. And you and everybody you deal with will be utterly miserable in the end. Now, how does gardening work more specifically? There are two basic parts. If you're looking at it from the outside, the first part, or the first thing you're intended to feel, is intrigue. The second part, I'm not sure what you'd call it, morale or consistent flow. Ambition is part of it, but that's not really it. You need to feel like you are on the frontier of something. In a location or in a space, there is always something to discover, and these discoveries are always worth discovering. Now, if you're a gardener, this second stage is where you start. First, your shadow now is your bottom bitch or your bottom motherfucker. You need to spend a lot of time reflecting and experiencing in the other. Everything you aren't, everything you're bad at, everything you're afraid of, everything you could be, everything other people are but you aren't, everything you don't know, all the ways you feel about all these things, all the things you do in response to all these things. Whether that is, well, it doesn't really matter what particular thing you do. Try to beat them, try to integrate them, try to study them. Something. The more, the better. And you need to think of this as your shadow introducing you to all of its friends. Worlds of experience and emotion your limited, restricted ego, would otherwise have no access to. But you do have access to it because your shadow is introducing you to all of them. And what you end up with is a bunch of shit you don't understand, but could, maybe, because your shadow knows them. And eventually you deal with them enough, they will become your friends too, however you feel about them. They will be your lifelong companions. There's a universe of shit you don't know and will never know. But now that you are communing with them, even if there's a bit of a language and culture barrier, you will start to get a sense of fields of things you can know. And then you set to trying to know them. And this is your life now. That's why we said last time, this is not a dating strategy you implement. This is the endeavor. This is the crushing confusion, the insurmountable void of ignorance. Your ignorance, specifically. The daily humiliation and demoralization of what you are. You are on a frontier. You're on the frontier of terror, of nonsense, of knowing there is no solution and no salvation. You're here, and you won't be rewarded for being here. You won't be saved for being here. There is no reason for you to be here. Do you want to be here anyway? Yes, because what else is there other than the endeavor? A life without the endeavor? You didn't choose to be on this ride, but you can choose to open your eyes and try to see what there is to see. you take the only real option you have, even if that option is getting called stupid 50 million different ways every day. Oh, and that's another thing while we're here talking about the endeavor in dating to the video. You accept you aren't going to learn anything. I mean, that's what you're doing, but that's not what's going to happen. In the end, you won't have learned anything. This is a perception game. You might not be able to learn anything, but you can perceive a whole lot. A lot more than you think you can. It's why eyes are so important in symbols and shit. They had to have known about the endeavor. You're not here to learn or to do or to conquer. You are here to see and hear and smell and touch and taste. And maybe some other senses, if you can unlock them. And you know what? Because fuck the video title, we're putting all the good shit, we're putting all the good shit in dating to the video. I don't think humans have a religion instinct. Because you look at all these ancient cultures and then contemporary cultures, even contemporary religions, which are ostensibly not religious, it's not. Well, you could say it's religious, but what is being deified? It's not always deities. And there are some cultures, ancient ass cultures, that deify, but they don't deify deities. What do they deify? They deify the idea there is an order to things. They deify some understanding or version of an objective reality. This is the way things work. This is the thing, or these are the things to strive toward, and here are the ways you strive toward them. That's something all cultures, all people do, have done, will do at all times. That's what separates us from animals. This insatiable need for the blanket of the illusion of sense. I hate philosophers. I hate philosophy students. I hate philosophy professors, philosophy departments, but that. Those experiences. That one freak INFJ who showed up in my fucking office one day. We had a 20-minute conversation and he dropped a bomb on me that I've been thinking about for a year now. You need conflict. You need hatred. Because without them, nobody would do or know anything worth doing or knowing. It's vitality, conflict and hatred are. And this is from a fellow foo-foo charity guy. Anyway, how does getting a philosophy degree work? You go or you enter a grand institution, you are shown a canon, introduced to the idea of a canon, canonization. Then these vested individuals instruct you about shit dead people wrote, all about what the world is, what life is, what people are, and then, of course, always what you should do about it, because you don't know, but they know. That's why they're canonized. And then, instead of going out and experiencing for yourself, you stay. First, you're instructed to stay, then you choose to stay within canon, and then you go out into the world and you push and you proselytize and you criticize anyone operating outside canon, all while, in the end, learning nothing, accomplishing nothing, changing nothing. That's not a religion, and you see the same thing in science. It's people act like those are religions or religionettes or what have you. They aren't. But they are evolutions of something humans have been doing forever. I think it's the Latvians, ancient Latvians, they worship. It's not, well, they would argue that it's not worship. It's these ideas which together constitute all aspects of an objective reality. There's no deity, in this Latvian thing, but ancient Latvians were doing what chinless skinny dudes are doing today. So, in my mind, embracing the endeavor is getting as close as you can to not that. Because it's not like you're ascending by embracing the endeavor. It's not like you've read many leather-bound books and studied under Hapiana Chuchana and you know and you're getting closer to some enlightenment. The endeavor is trying to confront the fact there isn't an enlightenment. And you haven't achieved anything by coming here. You won't achieve anything by coming here because it's if it's achieving anything, it's achieving the understanding there's no winning this. There's no knowing anything. And maybe you get here and you hit your britches a little higher and feel hoity-toity for a little while, but you're going to get kicked in the balls repeatedly until you die for nothing. And you were going to do that anyway, but coming here, you're just more aware of it and it's going to hurt a little bit more. The benefit, because there is a benefit, you get to perceive other things sometimes. But back to dating, getting your dick wet or your vagina smashed in, you go to the frontier, you undertake the endeavor, so you have alt shit on and in your mind. It will make you think and talk and act and just be with some other aura. I think to other people it'll feel like you have your finger on the pulse of something. And you do, and there's plenty you can do with it, but it also dooms you. Hence why I'm trying to train my brain to get nourishment from the things it can get well. Because again, this is a perceiving game. I'm trying to perceive it raw, and while that opens doors for me, it also limits my options in other areas. As in, if Joe Dipshit is unaware of the state of things or doesn't care, but can make things work within his jury-rigged understanding and feel love and enjoy love in some form, that's not wrong. My way of looking at it isn't right. He's perceiving with one sort of socialized lens, where I'm trying to asocial or antisocial my lens as hard as possible. And not just because this is something I want to do like a whim, I feel I'm built to do this, the same way I'm sure Joe Dipshit is built not to go anywhere near my circles. I'm not built to go anywhere near his circles. I don't know what a marriage in Skimmerlit's life would look like, but I know it would not look like a marriage in Joe Dipshit's life, so I'm trying to program myself to run off the biodiesel of attention and emotional transmission, at least until I figure out what a marriage in Skimmerlit's life would look like. I'm not saying there isn't one. I haven't figured out how it would work yet. But anyway, if you're gardening, within your garden, within your life, within your mind, within your soul, you are cultivating some pure strain shit. Shit you need to stand on your head and rub your stomach and inject into your eye to get the full effect of. And what does that look like in less abstract terms? For someone else, it might look like meditating in the forest and communing with nature in a way shit actually happens. I hate meditation. It's never, ever done anything for me. The number of times I have tried to meditate and make things happen and tried to stick with it a few times after people have insisted meditation is the best thing in the world, it's the answer. And every single time it has done nothing for me. Nothing for me. But I guarantee it has done something for somebody. And not just in a placebo way, but probably in some bullshit spiritual way you could measure, you could quantify if you hooked them up to some shit. Ways that it would not work for me if you hooked some shit up to me. Because that's the nonsense of the game. The point is, you've keyed into something other people have not. That's what you're doing. You are mastering strange and effective things. And consequently, if that's the trunk, you're going to grow roots of other strange and effective things, actions. You begin to become a completely different plant. Not pretending to be a different sort of plant, you are becoming a different sort of plant. And you're tangible. You actually exist. And you're not doing it as a tactic. You're doing it because you've undertaken the endeavor and this is your life now. Maybe you think pickup lines, there's something mystical to them, magical about them, and you can wield them like love spells. Maybe you got into them as a tactic, but then something went fucky-wucky in your life, and you stepped into the endeavor, and now this is your life. Mastering the magic of the pickup line on that freak, unnatural level. Maybe you are so into lifting weights, you have uncovered some strange weightlifting strategy that gets people better results than anyone else's strategy. That's your life now. Whatever that thing is, the rest of your life changes accordingly. It mutates. You stepped onto the frontier away from the mimetic pollution, like light pollution, of society, and you got struck with a transmission of something different, and now you're a mutant freak, and you're beginning to live as a mutant freak. Or, in other words, now you are gardening. You are cultivating your practice, feeling through the void for other ways to expand your practice, or perhaps other practices altogether. This is what I mean by this is not a tactic. This is something you would be doing anyway. But then we go all the way back to that intrigue level. But there's not any tactic here either. Or, once again, it's not really a tactic, you're just opening the valve and allowing other people to be aware of what you are and what you're doing. Your flower is blooming and the bees are coming. The bees are on their way. And you need to fight the urge to try to intrigue people. Because nothing is more boring or annoying and pathetic than somebody trying to be intriguing. If you need to try, then you've already done something wrong. It's the same idea as boldness as something people need when they don't have control. If you need to be brave and courageous, then you've already done something wrong. The only thing you're doing differently here is being open about it. And depending on the sort of gardener you are, maybe you were open from the very beginning. But the reason you don't need to push it or to force it, or I suppose if you want to do something, if you need to do something, it is to loosen up on the reins, to stop worrying about getting something. You develop the confidence or the trust in the universe. People will do what people do, which is be curious about something they haven't heard of or seen before but seems to be working. People will investigate. And then it becomes your job to discern what sort of person they are and decide if this is someone you want around you. And if you do want them around you, in what circle do you want them around you? And then how do you keep them around you or keep them interested or this or that? You invite them into the studio and engage them in the process. As long as you are always mining for new shit, evolving, incorporating different things you've learned in different ways, testing things, and always finding something new that works in some way, people will stay interested because it's like a pulse. There is a heartbeat here. And some people might get bored and leave. Some people might hate what you're doing, but that's not a you problem. That's a them problem. Ask yourself if this person is more important than your endeavor. If you think they are, then abandon your endeavor, adopt whatever point of view they think they have, and then wait to be disappointed. Mutually, of course, because whatever they think they have isn't going to match up to what you have, and you have just forfeited the only reason they were interested in you in the first place. Sucks, that's the way people are. And you might be thinking that sounds like an unbalanced relationship, like some sick master-student relationship. And that's right. You are the master of bullshit. They are your student of bullshit. And maybe they have their own school of bullshit, and if you're trying to get some kind of equality thing going on, which wouldn't it be great if equality could just be the standard? But it's not, and I think I resent you because you won't let it be. You want to try to get some equality bullshit going on anyway. You find somebody with their shit going on, and you enroll in their school the same way they enroll in your school. I think that's about as close as you're gonna get. But that leads us nicely into another thing I wanted to talk about. Why is my core audience women? Women are between a fourth and a third, depending on the time of the audience. And you'd think it's because of typology, but that's not the case. Those videos are viewed overwhelmingly by men. Women show up for the weird shit, for the research, and for most of the other endeavors I would need or want people to show up for. And if we are preaching here, women are the only ones who pull the good shit, the useful shit, out of what we're saying. Because even on videos like these, numerically speaking, men are the majority, but it seems like dudes don't learn shit from this channel. I don't know why they're here. Maybe the star is somewhat mesmerizing, they like to look at it. They don't listen to anything. And what's with this lesbian thing? I think I've worked out what's going on here. Dudes show up because there are parrotable things being said. They don't pick up or pick out anything valuable because that's not what they're here to do. They are prefab idea shopping. I think I am some 19-year-old hipster dude's equivalent of Marx. What's being said or sought doesn't matter in the slightest. The discourse is a badge one without an identity or with a weak identity can use to feel like he has an identity. And we mentioned in the last dating video, there are particular ways people talk when they are doing certain things. Why do most dudes around this channel talk with the exact same energy? Because they're here for the same reasons. They aren't here for the endeavor. All they want are words that sound good, make them feel good, like a bird learning slurs. The bird doesn't know what the word means. It doesn't care what the word means. All it knows is that it sounds really good to say. Feels really good to say. And of course, that's not all dudes, but that's a lot of them. And then on the other side, you have women who are here to do something similar on a different frequency, or bitches who are here just to be mad at something. A few bears showed up to the last dating video, and they got zero tolerance, but they gave me cause to think more about bears. Did the last dating video feel aggro, or dismissive, or combative, or cocky, or arrogant, or any kind of aggressive framing or tone? Because if it did, the problem is with you. My feeling throughout that video was observation and explanation. But I think some women, or some people, because some dudes do this, have such a weak grasp on their outlook if the truth of the endeavor is, or are, the harsh, flaying winds of the void. All they have to hang on to is a tuft of grass. Some people have sheltered together, worked together to build houses to hide from the void in. But these people are out here, their feet flying in the air, being threatened or about to be blown away, hanging onto that piece of grass. That is their point of view. Why are they here? Because bears, in the dating sense, men and women, are based in aggression, and I notice they're most aggressive with or around concepts. So why? What does that tell you about bears? Especially considering these are the ones about to be blown away by the void. Bears are not Joe dipshits. Bears are bears who think they need to defend Joe dipshits, or by defending Joe dipshit, they will be allowed into the housing projects, or a home will be built for them by Joe dipshit or Joe dipshits. But they aren't among the Joe dipshits, and they aren't in the houses because they don't fit in with them. You failed to be socialized correctly. Or you were born not to be socialized, quotes correctly. You weren't born to fit in. And I'm willing to bet money you weren't allowed in because you were too aggressive to be allowed in. You failed to go with the flow, and so you were turned away. But instead of trying to come to terms with the truth, or with the endeavor, instead of trying to undertake the endeavor, because that's not to your temperament. You also didn't build your own house because that's also not to your temperament. You've decided the best you can do, the best way to defend yourself from existential terror and oblivion, is to protect the shit that hurt you, in the hopes, by protecting it, one day it will embrace you. And it won't. But you're attacking me, or anyone who is not Joe dipshit basic level socialization, because you hope you will be accepted by it. And again, you won't. And this all gave me even more reason to appreciate this symbiosis with lions weird as it is, because what do you get when you develop a relationship or a symbiosis with lions? You get general and effective reasonability, understanding. Flare ups, issues, they happen, they're natural, they're inevitable, but they are not constant. Why do I not fuck around with bears anymore? Because you'll spend the rest of your life dealing with a miserable, aggressive creature, fighting with it to keep it happy. I have to fight you every second of every day to make sure you're okay. I'm not doing it. We made a video similar to this a long time ago. I don't want to fix her. And you shouldn't want to fix her or him. You do what you want to do, but that entire arrangement is bullshit. I'm not going to fight you to make you happy. But this segues us back into why I think women are my core audience. I think it's in part because typical ideas about relationships do not work, at least for people like us. I'm beginning to get the vibe the women who watch this channel to varying degrees feel the doom of the endeavor. Both the pain of it and the restrictions it places on the ways you can live your life as you become more aware of it or try to embrace it. I think that's what's going on. And the reason you come around here is this is a place people are working on it, particularly in the romantic sense. If not all this shit you're told, then what? That then what is what we are focusing on. We have 15 Manhattan projects going on in this channel. And I think that's probably in part where specifically the lesbians are coming from. And not base lesbians, women who like women. I mean Sergeant Butch and Field Marshal Evolved Soul lesbians. Because they really need to figure something out. Butch is Newtonian, Evolved Soul is Einsteinian, and the shit we're trying to figure out is the next great physicist we don't have yet. Because we aren't there yet. But it must be out there, because going back to the very beginning, part of that extra shit you get to perceive when you undertake the endeavor, there is other stuff out there. On the Tar Sea, you can fish up the bones of alien concepts you can then reconstruct for your own purposes. One of those is, if only we can find it, an alternate form of love. One that works and feels right, but either hasn't been formed properly yet, or hasn't been materialized yet. It exists out there conceptually. It just needs to be produced, or used to exist and we have forgotten. In any case, if you are fucked and doomed, this is your best hope. You could do this solo, of course, undertake the endeavor in your own way, but we've got a nice little frontier town going on here. Well, not really a formal town yet. More like a bunch of crazy coots in the hills who are somewhat aware of one another, maybe mining or panning the same stream, but it's only a matter of time. We live and love and laugh on the fringes. The fringes being those odd outside frequencies, the transceiver that is your brain can operate on. And there's so much shit out here that can be learned to understand one another better or to grow ourselves better. I was thinking, do men and women's brains process dopamine differently? If they do, how much of that is training? As in, if I'm not mistaken, when you get addicted to something, different pathways in your brain open up to accommodate that drug. What if instead of a drug, it is intense socialization? So, yes, there is a dopamine or chemical difference, but it's trained. And if it's trained, what happens if it's trained in a different direction or not trained at all? Or are men from different eras very different from men from other areas, and the same with women? If there are major differences, then what caused them? And again, what can we do with that? But my editing software crashed, so I needed to, or it gave me a little bit of time to think a bit more. Why is it so important men and women understand one another? Or why is it, well, yes, men and women understanding one another is important. There is a distinction of souls here, which is, again, why I think lesbians are very important to this. Why is figuring out love so important, especially within the endeavor? Well, I think in love, you are mutual conduits of one another's voids. In love, you are the only thing worthwhile to one another, despite what you may say or think you feel. Real love is wild shit. And I need to, well, I mentioned it at the very beginning, but I need to reiterate, love is not a baseline good thing. Love is as eviscerating and annihilating as the truth is, as the void is. Why, within this endeavor, does love feel so poisoned and bad and emptying? Because it is. It is bad. Love is awful. But it's the only thing that matters. It's the only thing worthwhile. Love is the conduit of the void. The person you love, if you really love them, is the avatar of your void. If this person represents so much to you, or maybe this, I shouldn't say this person basically represents this to you, but you have mutually selected each other to be avatars of each other's void, or to be conduits of each other's voids. Why is understanding one another so difficult? Really understanding one another. And people act like when you're in love, you totally understand one another. That's not the case. In my experience, in my life, the women I've loved most are the ones I have understood the least. To painful, devastating effect. I think that degree of love is important because it is an effort to become one with the unknown. Now, you aren't exactly becoming one with the totality of nonsense, but one of the other things I thought about was why does an individual need to be restricted to one ego, especially higher beings? Who's to say a higher being might not sprout off a smaller ego with its own identity, its own autonomy, part of something greater, still connected, or part, it is this higher being, but it doesn't understand itself on that level because it's here to do lower level shit. It is a higher level being, but it's just part of a higher level being. Here, it's a lower thing, but that doesn't take away from the fact it is part of this higher thing. The point here being some as above, so below shit, ritual shit. If you can pull off love within these spheres, then you've sort of synthesized chaos. You haven't, but you sort of have. You have helped one another do something you shouldn't be able to. Figured out a way to make some kind of sense of senselessness. Why is love this particular sort of love? Not trying to fit yourself into a different idea of love, but finding this particular form that's out there. Why is it such a focus? Why is it such a fixation? Because it feels like the only thing that might matter. And that's because it is a smaller scale comprehensible echo of the large scale incomprehensible. But we'll cut it here because my voice is trying to go out on me. And because I'm tired, and because this entire last leg of the video I'm beginning to get anxious is also all bullshit. But for right now, if nothing else, righteousness says getting this love shit sorted out, figured out, solved, it is the only solution leading to the only salvation. Maybe. We will try to figure it out. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't.